Hello there. Thank you for tuning in to the Above the Net SWAC Volleyball News Show. You are listening to your host, Tamika Newman, volleyball analyst, two-time graduate of SWAC schools, 2006 SWAC Player of the Year. To make a long story short, I am SWAC. This segment of Dr. Mike Prince's already popular show that discusses all things SWAC intends to highlight elite performances by teams and individuals, interview current and former players, give players and coaches, give youth coaches, parents, and players an inside look into a SWAC volleyball program. Today's guest, we are honored to have today's guest. She is not new to the show. She is a very accomplished coach, the head coach of Alabama State, Coach Penny White. Welcome to the show, Coach.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. I know you guys are busy. We're getting right into the thick of it. But we wanted to get you on. I think about HBCU volleyball, Alabama State sticks out. Tons of young girls want to know more about the programs, and they should know, especially the success that you've had at Alabama State and all the other academic things the school has to offer as well. So our intention is to give some insight, go inside your coaching philosophy, some of your history, and then the program. So let's get started. And I know this question, you could talk about this for an hour, several hours. Give us a quick bio of where you're from, when you picked up a volleyball, and then some of your coaching stops on the way.
I think you'll be surprised to know that I didn't pick up a volleyball until 10th grade.
What grade?
10th.
Wow.
10th grade. I was a basketball player. And I have some age on me. I'm seasoned. So in the neighborhood that I grew up in, there were no volleyball nets up. There was only basketball goals. I was born in a family where I had 7 brothers. I was the only girl, and they played basketball. So during the time when they started integrating us out of our neighborhoods, I went from being at a predominantly black school to being integrated into mostly a predominantly white school. And when I went to that school, that high school, they did not have basketball. And that was the day that a volleyball coach says, well, why don't you just try out for volleyball and just see if you like it? And I fell in love with volleyball. And there you go. I'm a late bloomer. I went on to play at LSU. I went on to play professionally in Germany, Italy. I played for the United States of America. It was an incredible experience and now that they're starting all the pro leagues up, which is a wonderful thing, being able to play here on our own soil, that is outstanding. I played the inaugural year for the Colorado Thunder when we won the NLV, the NDL, I'm sorry. And then you had Major League Volleyball. Before that, I played for the Dallas Bells and the Chicago Breeze. So it was phenomenal, just being able to play here in the States. And after I still was following my dream, I had the opportunity to still play professionally while I was coaching still. I started my first coaching career as a head coach at then Memphis State University, which is now the University of Memphis, and did a great job there, won the conference, did a lot of first-time things there, went on to coach at the United States Air Force Academy. And I believe that's where I learned a lot of my leadership skills. And although we didn't win a lot of conference championships, it taught me so many more things about life and how to be a better leader. And that was the opportunity that I had to grow. And that's what I brought here to the Alabama State University. I spent 15 years, 14 seasons at the Air Force Academy. I spent 5 seasons at the University of Memphis, and I am in my 13th season here at Alabama State University. Time truly has flown.
Coach, I try and tell my teammates to rack their brains. When I was at Prairie View, did you guys not come down to a tournament when you were at Air Force?
We did. We sure did. We played you guys.
Absolutely. And I remember it because as a kid and a young adult and even now, I always pay attention to women leaders, let alone black women leaders. I'll never forget that. And I bring it up to my teammates, and they're like, Tamika, I don't remember those tournaments. I'm like, y'all, Coach White was at Air Force. They came to Prairie View. I remember just being like, I'm always obsessed with knowing people's their journey to where they get to. I remember Googling you. So I'm a little bit of a fan, to be quite honest. And coaching was not anywhere in my future plans at the time. I was going to go into sports radio and TV, but I'll never forget that. And when you got the Alabama State job, I said, no, this name is familiar. I definitely recognize her. So, yes, I'm like the only person who remembers that. But I was like, this did happen, right?
Of course. Me and Alicia Pete were good friends back then along the coaching trail. And she's like, Penny, why don't you come on? Absolutely. That would be great to expose my kids to an HBCU. And we did, and we enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, got some good food down here in the Houston area.
Heck yeah.
And that Cypress area has grown since you brought your team back at Air Force. So you all got a lot more options.
Well, I look forward to it in a matter of days.
Yes, absolutely. You said something, and it resonated with me. And you at the Air Force Academy, you said that's where you honed in on your leadership. And then I know you left there, and then you came to the SWAC. Number one, in terms of professional development, I look everywhere for that, especially during COVID when we had a chance to just sit on any Zoom. I found myself sitting on Zooms with Power 5 basketball coaches. And I'd have my little tagline. They're like, the volleyball coach. One of my buddies was like, hey, I think he was in this Zoom, but it was basketball coaches. But military, basketball, which was my first love as well as a basketball kid. I don't know, the CEOs of different companies, and just anybody I'll glean some leadership advice from. So I love that you said that's where you honed in on leadership. And then you say you brought that to the SWAC. And from what I could see and still to this day, you could certainly tell the difference in you and just some of the coaches. Number one, for some of the coaches, an age and experience. I think at the SWAC schools you can get a little bit of a chance to be a head coach a little sooner than some places. Yes. So not as experienced in leadership as, say, yourself and some of the other coaches who've been here forever. So they were once young, inexperienced coaches. So I really love that, and that's something I talk to coaches about in terms of professional development. It doesn't have to be from volleyball coaches. And in my experience, we were kind of the last to talk about leadership. Basketball has been talking about leadership forever.
Absolutely. And I think the key to success is leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. Point blank, period. And that's where you'll find you separate the good, the great, and the elite. And it has everything to do with the leadership. People don't follow you because of a title. People follow you because of what you believe and how well you lead. And I think the benefit, and I know my athletic director, Dr. Jason Cable, says all the time that it's about the student-athlete's experience. And when you talk about the experience, although we're talking about volleyball, my athletes will tell you, how do you do that, Coach White? They really call me Penny Lou, because I take every athletic situation and I use it as a metaphor for life. Because it is. It lays great foundation and great grit and perseverance and a great growth mindset and how they're going to walk in this life. So sport here actually prepares my student athletes and my young women for the next 40 years in their life, in their careers. I know they see it as a volleyball game, but it's bigger than that. And that's the message, and that's what you'll hear my student athletes talk about. It's very relatable. It's just a laboratory for life.
Absolutely. Going back a little bit to leadership, and I'll talk about sports teaching life, one of my mantras is who you are is how you lead. You know, it's not too, and that really is speaking to that personal development piece, because you're not going to show up as two different people. You know, who you are and what you value is going to show up in how you lead other people, which is huge. You talked about sports teaching life. I have another thing I say for that. Sports doesn't teach life. Coaches teach you life through sports.
I like that. Yeah.
And but you knew that because guess what you said? You said, here, my program, they learn how to be, you know, they're prepared for life. Yeah, because in a sense, some things that sports develops in you can be self-serving. It can be you know what I mean? We chase winning and we want to work and work. It can create not such a balance in your life. There's things that are negative that sports can't promote, but coaches use sports to teach life lessons. So,
that's correct.
Yeah, it presents.
That is correct.
Yes, ma'am. It presents many opportunities for a lesson to be learned. But are we going to highlight it? Are we going to teach it? Are we going to emphasize it? So, I love that. All right, Coach, you announced. I saw you guys, school athletics Instagram and maybe your volleyball Instagram, that you are the regular season champs. How many times is this?
This is number, it all depends. Are you talking about tournament or regular season? If
regular
you combine them together, regular season, that's a good question. I don't know about regular season.
Okay. Have you all won the tournament every time you won the regular season?
Yes and no. When we went in 5th seed in 2019 with so many injuries, we ended up winning the conference tournament in 2019. The previous years, we were regular season champs and conference tournament champions. So for the most part, yes, except for 2019.
How do you get a new team, newbies, to come in? How easy or how hard is it to get people new to the program and even the returners to stay motivated enough to be a repeat champion?
Well, that is an excellent question. Let me talk about dealing with different generations.
Okay.
Because I'm no longer dealing with millennials. My millennials was the group that four-peated. And we've come up short as of late to grab another one. Once you get a taste, and this is my experience in the SWAC, because I've won the conference, the Great Midwest, when I was over at the University of Memphis. But in the SWAC, once you get a taste of winning the conference tournament, you understand the mindset of the two different seasons. And the reason, you know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is it's easier to get my kids prepared week in and week out for each individual team or a pair of two matches with the different schemes and what we're going to do than it is to keep them pumped over a period of 3 days. But once you get past the first 3 days and capture that first championship, I found it is so transferable because the veterans know exactly how to put it in the 5th gear the following year at the conference tournament.
Coach,
is that about on point when you say your experience?
Listen, I have chills because you remember I was at Prairie View the 19th year. And here's what happened, and here's what I saw.
Okay.
We made it. No, we did not have championship on our mind until about we were rounding out the last tournament, and the girls were muttering through, and we had taken a couple of non-HBCU D1s to 5. But they were still, I was new there, coming off being a high school head coach. There was still no light, no glow, and I'm like, you losing, but are y'all serious? Like, and I have a come to Jesus meeting because I'm just like not used to this. What in the, and hey, listen, this championship a bust. Like, from what I can see, this is what we can do. I'm looking around at everybody, what in the world? So long story short, we go have that crazy run. We do at the roundup. I remember you guys did come with an injury-laden team, and we get to the tournament. I kid you not, I'm on the bench. We're getting ready, and our girls have got that faraway look in their eye. The lights are brighter. That week, we were begging kids to pick up their effort. And so for me, listen, that's a sign. I'm begging you. You're on the verge of doing something that hasn't been done since I was there in 2006.
Right.
And I
but
coached
you upset Jackson State. You upset Jackson State.
Yes.
And I sat and watched that match, and I'm like, oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, what an incredible match. And, it was. Yeah.
So all this is happening, but the mentality is not changing in the postseason. And we're talking about we're winning, and I don't mean this term in a bad way. We were winning with a couple of kids that was losers, meaning they hadn't won big anywhere.
Right.
We didn't have any kids that won at that JUCO. We didn't bring in any kids that went deep into their state playoffs from high school. We were bringing in kids that had never won or played well and, were expected to go late in the postseason. So even the week of the tournament, dragging. We're begging them. We get to the tournament, the pass and serve, no fire. And I watched you guys, we play amazing against Jackson. They're excited, but that's too late. That's not going to translate. So we get to you guys. I'm watching Bailey warm up, and I forget who she was. Coach. I don't know who she was warming up with, but I was like everybody says, she had that dog in her.
She had that dog in her.
That kid had that dog in her. I said, man, when is she going to graduate? Okay. But, Coach, the way your kids were warming up, and this had to be her senior year, right?
This was her senior year. You are correct.
Coach, I said, oh, boy. It's a look. It was casual. They were just, and I see some of my kids, and we had 9 freshmen. Maybe we traveled with 6. And like I said, they had that faraway look in their eye. And, it went on to be, we didn't show up. But you guys, mindset that you're in the postseason, it's an expectation. It's a switch that turns on. Yeah. I'm at the private school level here, very low level here in Texas, and I was telling our parents, in the postseason, either the kids want to keep playing because your mind and your reputation and your ego wants to win, but physically and mentally, really, some kids are ready to check off. If they're honest, they're ready for it to be over.
Oh, right. Yes, you are on point.
Some of them are ready to be over. Nobody wants to talk about that, but you are fighting with yourself to keep going.
Yeah.
But when you meet a kid that's the standard,
that's the standard. When you put it in 5th gear, we in cruise control. Let me tell you about the locker room that night that year. So normally we have downtime, we have quiet time. And my team was so pumped. They said, Penny, this is not happening right now. We are ready. And I said, guys, can we at least be quiet and just have some downtime and I need you to be alone with you. Penny, no, Coach, we are ready. And I mean, I couldn't hold them down. I just said, I give up. I let them go. I sat down. I knew I didn't, and it has nothing against Prairie View. I didn't have to coach that night. That dog was bigger than the fight. Yeah. That night in my kids, and I couldn't hold them down in the locker room. All I could do was giggle. Wow. Okay. You can't tell we're in 5th place right now. What? They had been there before. It's a switch that turns on, and it takes over. It puts them in that cruise control. Demolition. We're taking down everything in front of us. Let's go.
Yeah, it gives me chills to think about it, but I won't forget the look on Bailey's face. I'll never forget that name. She was just that kind of kid. Yeah. So talk about the rise in talent and the competition in the SWAC. Since you got here 13 years ago, I think FAMU obviously came in and raised the level of play as well. I think the transfer portal has a little bit to do with it. Not everybody uses it, but talk about the play and the level of play.
Well, the play has definitely increased, and I think that's what FAMU did well. They used the transfer portal. I mean, when they got, of course, I can't think of her, Dominique, last year, the kid came out the transfer portal, transfers. But definitely raised the level. I've seen so much growth over my time here in the SWAC. And it's really fun to see the strength of the West. It really is. Prairie View, Cherie is doing a fabulous job on the West. I see a lot of young coaches that's going to be up and coming. I think Texas Southern is going to raise the level. I know Grambling is going to raise the level. So and not to leave out anybody, but you just see the level is being raised on the West. I have a little bias because we fight day in and day out, ASU versus Jackson State versus FAMU versus A&M. It's tough over here on the East. And, it's just good to see, it's getting tough over on the West too, just a little bit. But it has truly, the level, there's so much parity. I don't know if you made it to the roundup when we were at Texas Southern. What an incredible day of 5 matches, 5 sets per match.
I was there. I wouldn't have missed it. I wouldn't have missed it for the world. I was there, and oh man, did every game go to 5 and one went to 4?
Well, we went to 3 the first match against Texas Southern, and we went to 3 against Southern. Every other match except FAMU and PB went 4. Every other match went 5 sets because I had the first match against Prairie View, and we went 5. Everybody went 5. It was crazy. I heard they went until after 1 a.m. in the morning because I fell asleep about midnight watching the match just before FAMU and Texas Southern got on. It was Southern and someone, and it went 5, and it was crazy. So much parity. That tells you how the level has increased in the SWAC.
It did, and I talked about that the following week in the show. I was sitting there really proud as a HBCU alum.
Absolutely.
That Houston was the place to showcase it, which a lot of the schools, Houston is an area that they recruit. I think it should have been, I'd like to see in the future more high school teams bring their teams out to the matches. I
agree, yes.
And maybe I'll take that on as a task since I'm local to here and really care about that. But that place should have been full. The quality of volleyball was incredible. So many people were like,
incredible.
Yeah, it was. I want to talk about, nobody probably asked about this on podcasts or interviews. Talk about your assistant coach.
Okay, how about that? LaToya Clark has been with me. This is her 10th year. And when I tell you she is my right hand, my backbone, she is the setters coach, and you'll see, I mean, she has them just a well-breathed engine that just flows. But you talk about loyalty. You talk about knowledgeable. You talk about just great support for the girls, great support for me. And she's an associate head. And I'm so proud to say that we can switch that title from assistant to associate head, because the ultimate goal is that the day that I decide, okay, I want to go do this, she will be totally prepared to step in and take over. And
no doubt.
I've just watched her grow. I think it is a head coach's responsibility to grow assistants into head coaches. But I'm going to say this. If you look at my run, I've had 2 long-term assistants. Verna Juleton was with me for 17 years. She was with me my entire time at Air Force and came here with me for 3 years before LaToya came. She handpicked LaToya for me.
Oh,
Because
wow.
she knows me. She knows me that well. She knows exactly what I need as a head coach and who would work well with me and vibe with me really well. She watched Toya for about over a course of 3 or 4 days. I ran a big camp in Birmingham at the Crossplex. We had 9 courts going, and this young kid, after graduating from Jackson State, called and said she wanted to maybe do camps with me and just kind of see how things go. Well, Verna said, no, I think I just found your, because Verna was still my assistant. I just found your latest and your newest assistant. What do you mean, V? Come see. Because Verna wanted to go back to Colorado. And so we took Toya on the road with us that summer doing camps. We took her and set her under one of the best setting coaches in the country and set up under his tutelage for 3 days, all 3 of us, and watched him groom LaToya. And Toya's been with me ever since.
Wow. Yeah, she's such a staple. I watch her on the sidelines, how locked in she is. You guys' chemistry, the way that the girls respond to her, and I have to believe that it's, pretty responsible for some of your success. So I definitely wanted to highlight her because
I can't thank you enough, because assistants do not get enough of the praise. And I'll tell anybody, we as head coaches would not be who we are if it was not for them. And they don't get enough of praise and enough of just recognition because of what they do. But I know for a fact I am who I am because of her loyalty and her dedication to this program and me.
Well, young head coaches, you heard it from one of the best. Highlight your assistants. Do a great job picking them. Highlight them.
That's right. Highlight them.
And then develop them. I agree that it's the head coach's responsibility to develop them and coach them up. Coach them up. They still need that. So let's get into this year's team. Not going to hold you much longer. Talk to me about what kind of camp did you guys have, and then how was the preseason, and then get into conference play, and then what anything you guys are going to focus on going into the tournament.
Well, I think with everything, a leader has to have a clear vision, and I think it's important that our vision has to be clear. Sometimes when you come up short the year before, it's almost a good thing because the kids remember that taste in their mouth. But instead of that, we didn't want to focus on that. We just wanted to focus on what we need to do as a team. So we picked a book, and I believe this. We picked a book called Pound the Stone by the author Joshua Metcalf. I know you're a big reader, and I know you're a publisher and an author, a well-accomplished woman, and I can't wait till I can tell you I finally wrote my first book. But that's a goal of mine. That's a goal of mine.
Yeah.
So no, I admire your work and what you do, and I genuinely mean that. I follow you, and you know, look, I like almost everything you post. I'm like, she is a growth set. You're a mindset, meaning growth mindset, and that is so important. So we read the book, Pound the Stone, 7 Lessons to Develop Grit on the Path of Mastering Skill. So when we go through this book and we meet and we do a Zoom call and we have questions, they have a workbook with it, but it talks about our limited self-belief. It talks about cutting the ropes of old thought patterns. It talks about looking the woman in the mirror and decide who you want to become. It talks about stopping to stop blaming versus responsibility. It grows our young women. It gives them a whole new perspective in how they see challenges. I'm going to tell you, it's actually about a young boy named Jason, and it goes through his 4 years in high school. As a freshman, he's a young stud, but he got a little anger problem, and it deals with a little bit of where he come from. You know, it just was so relatable when it came to my team. So Jason, he was on a good basketball team, ends up throwing an attitude, losing in the semis in the state playoffs. The coach had enough. he pulls him, he gets ejected. So afterwards, he goes and he punches the locker room, busts up his hand, and at the end of the day, basically got some anger issues. The coach says enough's enough. The AD say, you're done. We can't do this. He begs to get back on the team. In order to get back on the team, there are some things that he must do. So I'm not going to give the book away, but he has to sell 1,200 books in over a certain number of weeks. The names of the books is what really turned me on because I've read most of them. So I knew exactly where this book was going.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, he ends up being taken in by our family, and that's when he began to learn about life. And they put him around the right people that could help him learn how to develop grit with poise while he continued to master the skill of basketball and life. It deals with everything our young people are going through. So you'll hear us say pound the stone, or you'll hear us say cut the ropes, or you'll hear us say man in the mirror. You'll hear, but all of my kids can relate to all of these stories. So we made the vision very clear. We're going to pound the stone this season. That way, we can't lose focus. That way, we know in order to crack the stone, it's going to take a lot of relentless pounding, because if you think of a huge stone and you're trying to crack it, it's not the 101st hit that cracks the stone. It's every hit that it took before you got there to break that stone. So we are on a mission. And in order to crack the stone or to break the stone, we have to finish first. That's the only way that stone's going to break. And we're going to be persistent. So we, as a lesson of courage, heart posture, and we talk about that, our mindset, persistence, being self-aware when you're being selfish instead of selfless, because it's not about you. This is about the team and the mission. We have a shared vision, and that's where we are. So it's easier for me to keep them focused because we've laid the correct groundwork with the book. Our foundation have been set in our lessons of developing grit.
I love that. I'm a fan of the book studies. I did Chop Water, Chop Wood, Carry Water.
Go. This is the sequel.
Yeah.
This is you already know.
Yep. So I've done that. I did that with a group, probably the high school before I came to Prairie View. They bought into it. They loved it. Volleyball girls are really smart academically.
They are.
So they buy into, if you really are consistent with your messaging and your habits and just with everything, if you have a vision, you're consistent, they really lock in on what you're asking them to do. So they love that book. You said something, a lot of the things you said, I know before even reading that book, those are things you could speak to. But the reason I love the book studies because it reiterates those lessons we are already teaching.
Exactly.
And they can see, oh, Coach Penny's been telling us this for 2 years, and this guy's writing about this, and it works, and it's relevant. And, yeah, now I can kind of, buy in. So it helps to reiterate those lessons that we're already teaching them. The same as bringing in a speaker.
That's
Most
right.
speakers don't come in and say something you hadn't been saying as the coach or the leader or the teacher, but they reaffirm what you said, and that always creates buy-in with young people. So that's why I really love the book studies.
Yes, I do too.
Yeah.
And I'm just an avid reader, and I just think I'm forever learning. I think the day that I stop learning, I need to step out of coaching. The day that I no longer want to continue to evolve, and that is not the case with me.
Yes, and that would speak to your all the years that you've been there, because I'm sure you know some of your peers who said, nope, I'm out of here. I am going to plant a garden and read and get up late, drink tea, sit around, watch my shows.
Right. No,
I don't see that in your future.
Not at all. I still have the fire. You put a score to it, and blow a whistle, it's on. I get excited. I love the heat of competition.
Yeah, and I can see that you're always locked in. I'm like, oh man, you can't really bet against a team that you're coaching, and you're not even playing. But listening to you and anybody who listens to this or has heard you speak, and I've watched some clips of you speaking at other engagements, they can see very clearly, almost like the people who might watch a Coach Prime giving his press conferences or talking. You can see very clearly that you know how to communicate the vision and not just talk about it, but be about it. And we know that kids, once they get that kind of leader, that's a scary team to play against. So
thank you.
I always know that's going to be the case. So this team, you guys talk a little bit about the season. Were there any dips, any challenges that presented themselves, and how did you guys kind of get past them? And then talk a little bit about entering the tournament.
Well, this season has been an incredible year. We started off with some tough preseason tournaments, but I don't regret any of it at all. I think it has prepared us to be able to, I see the grit, I see the relentlessness, I see where we can go a long time and rally with the best of them. And I don't see any change in our posture in there. I don't see any change. There's no I give up, none of that, no woe is me. So it has been very, very beneficial for us. And just when you talk about how we started the season, well, of course, we're very, very happy with our record. But, I'll let them know in a minute, that's behind us. We're not looking in the rearview mirror. We are looking ahead because we got to keep moving forward. If you get caught up in looking at past successes, you might slip up, and that's not the intent at all. So what you'll see is us really, really working hard, making sure that we're looking forward. When you talk about coming into the conference tournament, boy, I tell you, we were playing with the last couple matches, trying to see how we think things are going to finish up, and you just can't tell right now. You just cannot tell what's going to happen. But we got to keep pounding the stone. We got to keep working hard. And I'm still studying video. I'm still watching matches that even went on last night because, we know who's on the other side. And I know what the top four is going to look like. I may not know what the bottom four quite is going to look like, or the bottom three yet until the last day, but I'm just scouting every day those top 3 to 4 teams because we don't know what's going to happen. So we're going to prepare for everybody.
Absolutely. Y'all heard it, preparing for everybody. So I like to give, and I always hope some of the young volleyball players are listening, and I like to give a little bit of, add some value in their recruiting process. Talk about some of the things you look for in a recruit, and talk about the best highlight video you've ever seen. What were some of the elements of it? What made it so great? Or the best email with that highlight video. What do you like to see in those emails?
Well, first, when they email me, I like the fact that they really know who they're emailing, because we have Alabama State and Alabama A&M. I've received emails that was intended for my former teammate, Rose Major Powell, who's the head coach at Alabama A&M. So that's a no-no. But if you say, hey, Coach White, my name is such and such, I'm this and I'm playing here, Coach White, I want to tell you how impressed I was when I saw you play, or congratulations on how you and the team are doing thus far, that you really know about us as a program. And then to talk about my major is I'm interested in majoring in such and such because I know you have an incredible business department. Oh, they know that. So, know what you're talking about. Because when we come after you, we know who we're looking at. Another thing is in the email or in the highlight. Let's talk about the highlight video, best highlight video. I'm going to tell you, in the first 30 seconds, maybe 45, you better put your best at the front, because I'm not going to sit and watch a video for 7 minutes and your best hit is in the 6-minute realm. I'll never get to
Oh,
it.
boy. Oh, boy.
So you really want to put in the first 45 to a minute, put your best attacks, digs, serve, blocks, whatever it is you do, or serve, receive, in that first minute. And then, because then you've captured me, and then later, hey, Coach, upon your request, I'll be more than happy to send you an entire match. Because then when I do watch the entire match, I'm going to watch how you handle adversity. I'm going to watch how good of a teammate you really are. Do you really still go and congratulate your teammates when they're doing something well? Are you still cheering, or are you still working hard, regardless if you make an error? It's a game of mistakes. Listen, that one mistake didn't lose the match. It's not that deep. I want to know how you handle adversity. I want to know that you got a lot of bounce back in you. If you got a lot of bounce back, you can stay with us. I like that. I love grit. I love when another team pushes you, you know how to push them back, and that you enjoy the heat of competition because you're competing with yourself. You are trying to be the best player, teammate you can be that day.
Wow. Woo. You said a lot there, and all those things are why you've been able to put together so many regular season and tournament championships. When you push, you can push back. Yes, I love that. Yes, and our young ladies are better for it. That is teaching life lessons, because life starts pushing back every day.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah, when you get to adulting, it pushes back every day, and you have to wake up with that fighting mentality. You said something else I love. You're really competing against yourself every day.
That's it. You're competing against yourself.
You versus you.
Because who's my biggest opponent? It's myself, because I'm the only person that I'm having an ongoing conversation with all day. I'm the only person. And the question is, what are you saying to yourself? Because there are certain things that a kid would not allow another person to say to them, but yet they say it to themselves. That's not okay. And that's the mental part of the game. That's mental health. So we got to make sure that self-care, and that you understand champions talk to themselves. They don't listen. Ooh. Because, you understand? Champions talk to themselves, I got this. And then they coach themselves through. All right, on the serve. Champions, you will never hear a champion say to herself, don't miss this serve. Because your brain does not even comprehend the word don't. What the brain hears is miss this serve. But a champion talks to herself. She says, ready, position, breathe, presentation, lift, step, swing, bam. She's coaching herself.
Correct. Absolutely. Positive self-talk, and then going through your checklist of your skills. Yeah, absolutely. I so preach that, and you spoke to it. I go out and talk to athletes about mental toughness, mental agility. There's so many terms for it, but that is certainly one of them. Have kind of number one, a mistake routine, a process you're going to go through in your head. And then throughout the match, you should be having positive self-talk and going through your processes, moving on. What's my next skill? What's important now?
What's important now? Make a mistake, breathe, reset, compete. Let's go. It's okay.
Reset and compete. Yeah. You guys heard it here. Coach gave us, oh, my God, almost 45 minutes. I feel honored. I am looking forward. I talked to you guys about this in the email. I'm looking forward to calling the game for the SWAC Digital Network and elevating that experience, which I think is going to be important. And it'll be a lot better because I got a chance to talk to quite a few of the coaches. ESPN does the championship game. I'll get a chance to call that game. And the play-by-play guy, he and I have done a game this season before. I believe we did the Kansas TCU game. And one of the things he said, I'm looking forward to you telling me more about SWAC volleyball so we can tell those stories. I've got to tell you, and you know this, as I went around and did a couple games this year, we were able to speak to the background stories about players, coaches, how they got there, their life, challenges in their life, things they'd overcome, any cool, quirky things that kids were great at, had these hidden talents. And we want to be able to tell that story because the same thing exists in the SWAC. And we got to tell that story. That's one of those things I think we all can do a better job at. The universities, period, because we're doing great stuff, but certainly the athletic departments tell the story because some people are still stuck in the 90s or the 80s, and they don't have no idea the ways that HBCUs have evolved. So I'm looking forward to telling the stories at this year's Black Volleyball Tournament.
Exciting. I can't thank you enough just for the opportunity to chat with you. I admire your work. I admire what you do. And just know, I know there's a huge upside to you. So I wish you nothing but the best. And I'll see you in a matter of days now.
Yes, ma'am. Safe travels to Houston and look forward to the tournament.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye-bye.